Good morning, video morning brief of the U.S. stock market Friday, April 4th, 8:34 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Rich Paz for Critical Point. Okay, last night I told you if it's going lower, 6 p.m. or later, it's might as well just keep on going lower. Well, they did. We're down 100 and some odd points here, another 1,100 points in the Dow Jones just crashing. Worst performance since COVID. Okay, and much more fallout on all this tariff stuff of how we're just destroying the world and more so ourselves, the U.S. Okay, so another huge gap down here. There's discussion maybe this is like 2020 COVID bear market. There's discussion maybe this, and then I still see similarities, but it's difficult for me to explain. For 1987 crash, I don't know anybody else is saying anything about that. We are seeing people that think maybe we're in the early 2000s. I think even Jim Cramer over in CNBC said maybe you ought to consider a playbook of that. And that bear market was down for like, what, 2 years? All right. Well, I'm not coming up with that. I think this bear market ends. It could end as late as early next year. It should end no later than October of this year, and therefore this year. And it may end as soon as June. In theory, it could even end any day now, now that we're beating it up this much, but I really doubt it. In order to cause a bottom now, Trump would have to really turn around abruptly, or the rest of the nation settle down with Trump real quick, okay? I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to take longer. I think more damage to the economy is coming. It's possible the stock market puts a brake on, a wait and see attitude, but probably still will be lower into June, and it may yet be lower all the way into October. Okay, and this could just get more ugly from here, believe it or not. All right, some of the other news are discussing, again, the performance is bad as going back to COVID. They're discussing now nuts. I just went over a list and I don't have my list. A variety of news is going on here that's not good as we wrap up the week. Okay, let's go to the markets here. And because of the overnight trade, the model was able to throw out the idea of a level 4 bottom yesterday, and it did put it back to the bottom on April 2nd. So there's that level 4, blipped it up right immediately into a level 4 top as Trump spoke, and down. This is a level 4 downswing. That was a level 4 upswing. So that is a very bearish pattern as it spent almost all of its time down and devastating lower. I believe some of that news on my little list that I can't find here was, I think, Mag 7 and something else is in NVIDIA, some of the others, down 20% already this year. I noticed the Russell 2000 S&P 500 ratio really looking ugly. The NASDAQ to S&P 500 ratio is just a little bit weaker, but it is showing it is weaker than the S&P 500. VIX, of course, has been up somewhat, but it could have been up worse than this, and maybe it is going to be up worse than this anytime now into June, but the trend is up, so the VIX is saying people are betting on problems here, but at the same time, the reason the VIX really isn't as high as some people might expect is I think some people are just flat out liquidating stocks. Well, if you're liquidating stocks, unless you're actually also going to be net short, make an actual outright bet on the downside, then you're not using options and futures. Well, the options is what's showing up in the VIX. So it means that they're more bearish than what they're implying off of the VIX because they're actually dumping the stocks and they just don't need to do what is required to make the VIX move. All right, but at least the VIX is warning that over the next 30 days, people are betting that they see worse times coming, but they can change abruptly on that. But every time you look at a reading of the VIX, it's just giving you a measurement of what the derivatives market is seeing over the next 30 days. And it does see troubles and problems. That doesn't mean they're right and it actually does that for 30 days. That's just how the measurement is looking. All right, any rate. Now, how about this level 4 bottom here? Well, today is a day to start looking for a level 4 bottom. It does not have to show up, unfortunately, till Monday. And this line right here is to remind me of Sunday night trade, which would be Monday. It may not bottom till early Monday. In theory, it could stay down all of Monday, but it probably should bottom by early Monday, the latest for this level 4. The cash market could bottom today, and the futures market is lower overnight on Sunday, but then is back up by 9:30 a.m. or something, so that we see a bottom on Friday for cash, and the bottom was on Sunday night, Monday for futures. You can get that kind of a weird scenario. But the point is, it could bottom today, that it washes out. But I don't know how much to bet on it. Just like yesterday, I thought, I'm glad I mentioned that they could still sell it into the close. And I just thought for this week of market, if it can't pick its head up very well by mid to late afternoon or something, they probably are just going to sell it into the close. And even if they picked it up quite a bit, they could sell it somewhat in the close. It's going to take a while to wash this out. All right. So I don't know how much to trust trying to pick level 4 bottoms for you, but at any rate, the forecast is a high. Level 4 top is due on Monday to Tuesday. So I think there will be a little bit of a bounce, some kind of relief from selling, not necessarily good buying at all. Bargain hunters may not step up at any time. All right. And I don't know how much these downside targets are going to help us here, but there's one at 51.77 here in the futures. All right. Now, what of that level 3 trend? All right, because here's the level 3. There's your monthly buy signal, your monthly sell signal. This looked like a level 3 up move. It looked so good, but it was really just a kind of a half cycle, a combination of level 4s, and it's really meaningless when it comes to level 3. And it sure was. They're bearish. Well, the level 3 is still due. The top is due next week. So there's now rising odds we will get a relief bounce next week, but it may not even be worth betting on. Okay. There's probably going to be people saying, I'd really like to sell a bounce, and they're going to try to stop panic selling here. And that's about all that's going to occur. All right. So I do see a blip up next week, but it might not be worth even considering that it could be that ugly, that bearish. And even if it is a nice bounce, it's probably an opportunity to just sell it again and just keep selling every level 3 rally you can. The bad news is people are so worried about the future that these level 3s just get crippled and just don't work, that if you keep waiting for them, you're still just going to do the equivalent of selling lower and lower. So it really is a tough situation right now. And this is a little bit like the 2020s when my modeling did fantastic during that collapse. But this time around, it hasn't done quite as good. It's done pretty good. I haven't done as good myself of having enough faith in this bearishness, and I'm really shocked at that myself. I've made some money, but I'm just telling myself, be thankful that I told you sell out during December, sell out during January, sell out during February. I'm thankful in public. I made a few comments and even wrote a few things saying get out, and I'm thankful that I got out. And I'm just telling myself this should have been a really big win to the downside for me. But I've kind of got away from betting on the downside so much in recent years because it's been such great bull markets and I've been so good at it. And I told myself, I'll worry about the major downside and how to really make some serious money out of it. I'll worry about that later this decade when we get it. And I woke up this year, I got to start taking these kitchen business cycle downturns and these LT3s more seriously here and look at some of these level 1s to do a little something extra to make even more money to downside, because what if this stock market just turns sideways for years? What if we are in a bear market for 2 years? You're just not going to have the opportunities to make money, and you might even find you can't get in and out quick enough, and it turned out to be a loss, even if the model was accurate on the timing side, okay, that you still didn't take the profit quick enough, and that sort of thing. And so I'm telling myself, yeah, I need to make some extra money and do different things. I am thankful at least making something, but I'm kind of embarrassed of my personal talent and experience for 40 years or so, and relative to how good this model works, should have benefited more myself from this. But again, at least the most important thing for most people, including myself, is to get out of these long-term bull markets because they come down so quickly. And I'm out, and I'm hopeful you're out, okay? And so I'm telling myself, forget about this, move on. At any rate, what I would like to do is maybe sell this level 3 top next week just for a little bit. I am scared of selling too low, but there could be so much more downside yet, and this could get so crazy and so many unknowns here. All right. At any rate, the idea, though, is a blip up next week for level 3 and probably down again. Now, what about the level 3 bottom? Well, if the level 3 bottom was on Monday, then, I'm proud of the model and myself. We said, yeah, it's moving up, okay? But we said we don't want that taken out, and it was. And they did hesitate there as if they're saying, whoa, what did we just do? And what do we do now? And then they just gave up, okay? They gave up, all right? if that's the level 3 bottom, and I'm concerned it is, then the violation warns us it's going lower into the next level 3 bottom, and that won't show up next week. Okay, I don't think. Maybe it can. No, it can't. It will show up the week after. So next week it could be down all week. The problem is we have this level 3 top. What this means is there's a conflict within the bears. There's a conflict within the bulls. But the overall net thing is more bearish than bullish. What this does is, if this is not going to establish a level 3 bottom right now, it only is going to rally up some, and it's going to be like a hiccup, a little oops thing, and then just down, down, down. So it's just not as bullish as it would be as if this could be the level 3 bottom. Well, can it be the level 3 bottom? Well, the model is saying really the latest should have been yesterday. So I would say no. I would say we got a clue this thing's going down next week into the following week. But we also have a clue. People might be a little surprised how quickly it can rebound some, but it still shouldn't be a great, wonderful up move. But it can rebound some next week before going down. Okay, so that's one forecast. All right, now the problem is, what do we do with can it still bottom today? Well, I did the math. I did the history back 100 and some years. It's possible it bottoms today. The model just can't deal with it in terms of how we normally look at history and statistics. That is just something a little one day over. We found other things. However, if it's down on Monday, lower still, that will force the model to say, yes, we had it right the first time, right there, level 3 bottom. And yes, it's going lower when looking out 1.5, 2 weeks. However, the model will still say the market ought to pick its head up next week some. We still could get some stability. We may be getting closer to stability to move it up a little bit, but it ought to just go right down again, is what it's going to say if it's lower on Monday. So write that down. If it's lower on Monday, you might as well assume it's probably going to be lower next 1.5, 2 weeks. At the very least, it would move sideways and find it very difficult to move up. The model's also saying, however, it should still move up some next week, but it ought to be very difficult for it. If it is a fast, huge run-up, it's probably coming down fast. This can also give us clues of how much more bad news is coming, that the next 1.5, 2 weeks, it's probably going to be bad. But there is a chance that if this were a level 3 bottom today, we could get a little better, more sustainable rally into the level 3 top, all right? And then we'll have to reevaluate whether it's also putting in something far more important and could be stable the rest of this month, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But for now, I'd be concerned. It doesn't really matter if it bottoms today or it bottomed on Monday. It's going to be a weak rally next week, and it's probably going lower later. And even if we found stability the rest of this month, I think it's probably going lower later. And we'll talk about those trends in a moment. So at any rate, that's what I have. Not a good thing if it's down Monday, lower still, or later, okay? Possibly can bottom for a level 3 today, and we get a little better of a better relief rally. But I'm nervous that no, we had it right. This is the level 3 bottom. The Trump stuff was such a shocker that it even caused the level 3 traders to be wrong. Level 2, level 1 traders threw in the towel, okay? The long-termers threw in the towel. The level 4 traders have been trying to be a little optimistic with the level 3. Everybody just threw in the towel. But I'm not convinced this is capitulation. I don't see any evidence of it. I don't trust capitulation. I don't think it's worked as well as it used to 50, 100 years ago. I look for different types of washouts, and I'm not convinced this is truly a washout. All right, let's take a look quickly at the interest rate environment. Down, down, down. They're worried over recession, crashing economy. We look at the dollar, and in theory, some people are saying it should go higher, be stronger, that it's a flight to quality. It looks like the rich in this country are dumping U.S. stocks, putting money into Europe, other places around the world, scattering. This isn't a good thing of a lower dollar this time around. Sometimes a lower dollar is good. It can be a good thing later on for the economy, actually, and even global economy. And Trump wants a lower dollar to help out with our exports, okay? The weird thing, though, is he's had moments of saying he'd like a stronger dollar just to show the people want to stick with the U.S. Right at the moment, I don't think he cares anybody sticks with the U.S. Gold, It's sold off some, but it's still buoyant. It looks like it's still going higher. People are going to get back to saying maybe they better buy more gold because we really got a screwed up country right now. Bitcoin, interesting enough, has held up much better than I would have thought. Relative to this. So the Bitcoin people are probably proud of themselves that this time around they didn't panic with the stock market. But I got a feeling it's going lower into June. I got a feeling it can be lower in the next few weeks here, and it may eventually speed lower. I still don't trust Bitcoin as some kind of safe haven or even a store value. There's crude oil saying, oh my gosh, the economy is going downhill. We are going to be forced to sell lower later, so we might as well protect ourselves now. And then the speculators jumped on it already. NASDAQ, S&P 500 ratio looks weak, and I did want that. I got it, okay, but now the stock market's faster down than I wanted. This is the Russell 2000, so even the small caps are moving lower faster than the S&P 500. Oh man, that looks ugly. Really, really ugly. All right. I don't have anything on the hourly chart. We'll forget that one. Other than, wait a minute. Let me move back to that. I got a 53.47. That's the next target we want to look for. I had a 54.71. Look at it, shot below it, went back up to it, and then down. I'm impressed with that. Meaningless information right at the moment. Let's go to the daily chart, S&P 500 cash. Nothing there other than we got this big gap. Someday the market is going up. Maybe we'll get lucky if they put the brakes on today that we'll see them put it back up next week to fill that gap. And then it's just down, down, down. I think we got to get it in our heads, and I need to take this more seriously for my own money. It's going down to June. Just say to yourself, it'll be okay to be wrong. Just error. Big time on that side. It can be down that long. All right. Here's the daily NASDAQ 100 futures as of overnight. Slammed it down again, trying to be a little bit buoyant here. It is due for a level 3 top next week. Okay. So it could be over as soon as Monday, believe it or not. I'm thinking more like Tuesday or Wednesday. Some little recovery. They may put it back just to the 5-day average and they sell it. Let's take a look at the S&P 500 futures. Okay, and same story. They may bounce it into next week for level 3. I'm starting to feel a little more confident. I'm kind of talking myself into this level 3 bounce. But again, I don't trust it. I think it's probably another sell opportunity. They might bounce it up to the 5-day average next week. Down it comes. They may bounce it back to this old downside target because it blew through it so fast and may come up, bump its head, and then down. NVIDIA here, falling apart. Okay, now, of course, that was yesterday. We don't know yet today what it's doing. Where's the Mag 7 fund? Okay, blowing right through that. All right, and then where's the equal weighted? Actually, that's the fund, not the index. Here's the index. I prefer the index. I don't know why. But the index is, look at that big crashing moment on the index. Woo! All right, and that's one day. Bam. Okay, let's go to the week now and look at these larger trends. Sorry for taking so long, but hey, we're important times here. All right, look at this cash index. Woo, man. All right, slammed it up to my fair value. Now, that's just an estimate. And I'm so proud of myself turning down. Wished I had the brains enough to just sell like crazy because I was betting on the downside, big side, got out, and then I sat there like an idiot and just watched Trump say that and watched it crash. I think my problem was it dropped so quickly on me. A lot of people, I'm getting questions from people saying, how do we learn how to figure out when the algorithms are selling or buying? Well, that's a real mixed bag. I can't help you there. All right. Any rate, comes down, okay, slams up for the Trump thing, down. Actually, I did sell some there and I made a little profit, but then I gave some back in here. Anyway, down, okay. We have a 53.47 for the cash. I almost hope it does it this morning here. And then it ought to rebound for that level 3 next week. And I'm concerned it's down again next week, maybe even into the following week, but it ought to bottom for level 2 no later than week of April 14th. Now, I'm still wondering, did it actually bottom in here somewheres? Can't see it. If so, it's just down into June. Did it actually bottom there when I first warned you it could have, but I didn't quite want to believe it? That may have been the level 2 bottom. If so, it's still down into June, just not as many weeks of downside. But what I'm saying is, I guess I don't care where this level 2 bottom is or not. I don't personally care. The model's doing its best to figure it out. That's its job. That's designed that way. What I'm concerned is it's due for level 2 top. And it may show up as soon as 2 weeks from now, but ideally it wouldn't show up to April 21st. I don't think the market can rally that high for that long. All right. I just don't think it could stay up that long. So I say it bounces a little bit next week, down some more, bounces maybe into the week of April 21st, maybe a little longer, a little later, and then just down again. And I say this level 2, I'm going to be bringing it way down into here somewheres. It's just a little blip up and a bigger down move into June. And as I've been warning you for weeks now, probably stay focused on the idea it can just be down from February on into June for a level 1 bottom. And I told you I wanted minus 7% down minimum, got that. Now we're working on minus 13% minimum, which is the minor or the mid-size cycle that I don't like to forecast, but I decided I better under Trump. I think we need that minus 13% at least if there's going to be an early bottom and washing things out. I'm concerned we're on our way to 20% lowers, folks, and maybe 30% lower all the way into June. I don't think anything lets up because I just don't think Trump's going to give up that soon. And the Republicans just have this characteristic. It's in their DNA that they're slow to help with disasters. And they become far more emotional and stick with their own story until they're almost dead, okay? Then they will get going to recover, but they're also slow recovering. They leave it up to everyone else, and then sometimes that's not the smart move. Also, keep in mind, there's more and more evidence coming out and people talking about Republicans create most, if not all, the disasters for the history of this country. And here we're going, okay? So you really need to consider 30% down, maybe 60% down. You really need to consider this could take all the way to October to early next year, but hopefully no later than October. You really need to consider it can be down in June, and maybe it won't go to 20%. I don't know for sure. These are levels we just have to watch. Ideally, in a couple of weeks, we're going to see this market pick its head up. I'm nervous what it's going to do is bounce some next week, down again, lower still, bounce up and down and up a bit, and that's going to be the level 2 top. That might be that much higher where we are now, and maybe even lower than where we are now. And then it's just going to drop some more. I think you better just assume there's really not a lot of risk here getting burned by continuing to unload on the way down here till we get to June and we start over. I realize that could be a wrong thing to do, that it could be too late, but I think this stuff is just too serious for the American people, and they're really throwing in the towel, okay? All right, what else do I have for you? I guess nothing. I don't think we need to talk about the interest rates. I don't know on the monthly VIX, and last night I was looking at the monthly stock index charts. There's really nothing to look at. It's bearish. It's ugly. Let's go to the VIX here. Okay, and there we finally got the explosion. Okay, I'm sorry, that was yesterday. I forgot that. So now they have protected themselves, but some of that they've liquidated, but also even betting on the downside. All right, I think some of them are betting down on downside more consistently, personally than I. And we're going to hear some stories of some people making a fortune out of this to the downside. All right, I think that's all I've got for you this morning. We have this gigantic gap here on the hourly chart here that's going to get filled someday. We're going to get another big gap this morning here. And let's see where we're at. And I got the index is trying to turn around compared to overnight. It's down 135 points. I will give, this is probably even stupid to say this, too dangerous, but I will say it's going to bottom today for level 4 and be up on Monday. And I will say that it will be up next week regardless if today's bottom is a level 3 or just a level 4. If it's only a level 4, it should only bounce a little bit next week and down to a new low for the year. If it is a level 3, it may bounce a little better and then may take it a little longer to come down, but I'm nervous it can come down for a new low for the year. It may not. It may have to try to be sideways and flounder all the way to late April to put that level 2 top in. But the way I look at it, every level 3 and level 2 top is a selling point now into early May. I think the market's going down into June, and that's where we can find a level 1 bottom, when we might also find a minor to mid-size long-term bottom. And there is a chance that the country will still be intact by 2026, 27, and we'll have a bull market. but doesn't look like we're going to get much of a bull market this year, maybe not even to November, December, and maybe later. And we are in a bear market right now, okay? And it's not Wall Street's definition yet. Wall Street won't say it's a bear market till it's down 20%, but that's just hindsight. Quite often, the market bottoms then. Sometimes I think it scares people into selling their stocks saying, oh my gosh, I should have sold sooner, and now Wall Street says we're in a bear market. Dump it. No, no, history shows probably it's too late to sell then. This time around, it might be different with Trump and these business cycles because things can just be unbelievably bearish, down 60% this year, down 30% this year. But I tend to think maybe only 20% down is the worst scenario going into June. And with any luck at all, maybe we can fix some things and work some things out. Wow, what a time. What a time. Any rate, again, this may be stupid, but I think it blips higher into Monday. I think it's a sale next week again, however, but can blip higher for some of next week. And even if it wants to go up all the way into April 21st, I'm still concerned it's right back down again by June. There's going to be still lingering bad news. And I'm concerned the longer it takes to fix these tariffs, which I think it's going to take a long time. I don't think it'll really be fixed. I think eventually we're stuck with some of these tariffs for quite a while. I think what's going to happen is people are going to focus more on the economic news that's just going to get worse. And it doesn't matter if Trump tries to be nice and calm and trying to fix things. The economy will continue to slip after that. Oh, by the way, what was on my news list is I think 220 some thousand jobs. Was that right in the jobs report? What's more important, though, is 4.2% unemployment. I've been saying for months, unemployment's probably working higher. I think now that's an obvious one. Okay. Inflation, I can flip back and forth, and I got to go double check on the PMI services and combine, see what they're looking at like. That can flip back and forth. But I think even if we get inflation this year off of tariffs, the economy is still going to slip, where sometimes the economy does better under inflation. I think it's still going to be an ugly time no matter what happens with inflation. All right. All right. I'm bearish into June, and I'm supposedly should be bullish into April 21st or something like that, but I don't like it. Don't trust it. I should be bullish somewhat for next week. Don't particularly like it. Don't trust it, but I think there's a chance for it. And with any luck at all, this little stability in the futures, if the cash market doesn't sell off today, or if they don't sell off by the close today, we have a chance it can rebound some. All right. And it did meet some of our downside targets, and it blew past some, which could act like a magnet that it has to go back up to those targets, okay, before going lower. But I'm still concerned 53.47 is coming. I've had a range of 5,400 to 5,100 coming. We could see something that should be unbelievable, but occurs anyways, of 41 to 3,900 in the S&P 500. I think upside limits will be the gaps that we have to consider here. So I think upside will be limited to whatever gap is today, but more likely this gap in the 5,500, that's probably where somebody would like to sell it yet again, unless somebody fixes something real quick and it's a big fix. And I'm afraid that's not coming. And I'm afraid people will just keep selling this lower and lower. Thank you. Have a great weekend.